Andrea, I'm glad I did not give you a dress code for this episode.
I don't have any from, what would that be, the 1800s?
Yeah, that seems to be about right when
No.
I'd wear my stockings, or I forget what they were
Actually, I
called.
do. I do have a dress that would have been perfect. Shoot. I never wear it. Oh, I missed my chance.
You know what? Living in Minnesota, it seems probably most Minnesotans probably have one of those type dresses.
I actually had a bonnet too that I don't know where that is anymore from Laura Goes Wilder. My aunt got me
I
when
was
I
just
was
about to
little.
say from like some Little House on the Prairie
Yep.
thing.
100%.
Well,
Oh,
this is Eric,
this is Andrea.
Hallmark Mysteries, and
And
more.
more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
All right, Andrea. Well, anything new and exciting? You know what is new and exciting and interesting? That Brooke Shields article that
Oh,
came out.
yes.
And it's interesting reading it, especially after we talked to Dylan, right?
Mhm.
Who Brooke came aboard and 14, like, can you imagine
16.
14,
It was 16.
right? Or 16, right?
Mhm.
Doing the three
Flower shop.
Flower Shop Mysteries, which were funny and they were cute. And then she sort of disappeared. And when we talked to Brennan, he was like, yeah, I thought we were doing more. I don't know what happened. Gary, who wrote them, I talked to him. He thought he was doing more and just sort of said it just like
Interesting.
evaporated and
Stopped.
disappeared. Now we know what happened was,
Brooke didn't
I'm
want to
guessing
proceed.
based on our conversation with Dylan, that Brooke said, hey, I want more humor. And Bill, oh, yeah, it's like, humor, what is that? We have no room for comedy and rom-com.
Well, it
So,
sounded like though she was promised that
right.
was a direction they wanted to explore, but then when push comes to shove, it didn't sound like it was happening.
Right. But that's my point is I don't think like what Dylan's saying, like he understood what actually comedy was. He thought like his version of comedy isn't
What?
what
Yeah.
someone who's like Brooke, because Brooke Shields is funny if you look at like a lot of her work,
Yeah.
and she understands comedy. And so what she views as comedy, and then probably what was being sold to her as comedy,
We're not the same thing.
were not the same. So yeah, so this is very interesting getting it from Dylan, who basically had the same battles and everything. So
Yeah.
I find
Yeah.
that
I also
fascinating.
had some DMs from people when we talked about Hallmark Plus and like just the rollout. And apparently it doesn't work with certain Samsung TVs or like any Samsung TVs. And
Really?
so, and the person who DM'd me said they reached out to Hallmark and they had said, yeah, we know that that's a issue. And I'm like, how do you roll this out then? Like you're
And
missing, that's a name brand. Like that's
yeah, I
not
was
like
about
an
to say
off brand. Like,
Samsung
that's
is
got a reputation.
probably like
People are going to
top
own
three.
Samsungs. Yeah. So it's just wild to me, like all of those little misses. So, maybe people listening who are like, no wonder it's not working on my TV. That could be why, because apparently they're aware of this issue. And that might be why the smart TV, and maybe it only works on iPads or,
And what's
phones.
crazy is I just got my new TV, whatever, relatively recently, and it came down between a Samsung and an
So
LG,
funny.
and I went
Well,
with the LG, which, whew,
good thing.
though I usually watch my Hallmark on my iPad.
I used to
Um,
have a Samsung, but we got rid of that. And so, yeah, that's just, so again, just
it's
kind of
just
that
weird.
rollout is not great.
It's like
So,
not having the stereo. It's not being able to work on Samsung. Forget these strategic things. It's
and
just
Chicken
the pure
Sisters,
the
Georgia just sent
technology
me a
of it.
DM that they could watch Chicken Sisters. People can on a plane for free now. Like they
Oh,
have some episodes there, which again, that's supposed to be a Hallmark Plus exclusive. So are they trying to get people to like the first? I think it looked like 3 episodes were leaked. So maybe they're trying to get people to subscribe after those three. So I
and
mean,
I
that
mean, I
could be
guess
an
if you're on a
interesting
plane,
marketing,
but if you're on a plane,
ploy.
it's not like you could watch the entire series. So yeah, so maybe it's a
Well,
way to.
yes, you could. Depends on where you're going. You could watch a whole series.
Oh, there's like 10, 30.
Yeah,
No, that'd be like,
if you're flying international, you could watch the whole.
oh, okay,
Like
okay.
you're just thinking
For
like
all the
going
people
like,
going to
yeah, no.
Australia, okay.
Hey, I
Yeah,
just had a friend. She just said it was a 12-hour plane ride. So that's why I'm like, she could have easily watched it. So
okay.
she was going to India. Well, do you want to dive into the Gourmet Detective? Movie number 4 of 5. Eat, drink, and be buried. So Henry oversees the kitchen at David's birthday gala. He brings along his detective friend, Maggie. David's son is killed, and Maggie and Henry investigate.
No, wait. Is this the IMDb or the Hallmark
That is the
description?
IMDb.
Okay,
Sometimes
because
it's very hard to
his
find the Hallmark descriptions of this
cool.
old of a movie.
Okay, because going back, his detective friend, I
Yep.
found that kind of funny because
Yeah.
Maggie is now his fellow
Girlfriend.
girlfriend. So I
Yes.
find that a weird one if Hallmark had written that. Okay.
No, I it was on IMDb, and yeah, I was trying to find them on Hallmark, but I don't know if they still have some of these descriptions. So, well, overall plot enjoyment, I can start. So I thought this was a 5 out of 5, and I thought this was going to be my second favorite movie, and it's not actually. I only remembered the piece that they went and they were in their dress up clothes and they had the shooting, and I really forgot the whole rest of the episode. Um, so I gave it a 4 out of 5. I liked it. But for me, the costume party was the standout. That was the highlight, my favorite part. And so it was a little slow as well in this movie. As it kind of progressed, I did see what Dara had mentioned last week, and someone else had sent me an email, and I'm like, oh yeah, yep, I agree with you because I'm the person who can't. I don't do well with the slow ones. And so as we got out of the costumes, I'm like, oh, this does slow down. I did have a great like Chris McNally's in this. Did you know that was him? I did
Of
not
course.
realize that until this viewing. And how
Oh,
many times I've
seriously?
seen it, never realized that was Chris McNally until now. I'm like, that looks like him, but a very young baby
Oh,
faced
yeah.
Chris McNally. So if anyone has not seen it, Douglas, one of the sons, it is Chris. And so that was kind of fun to see him. But overall, I like this one with Henry's dad coming back in. I wish they would have had more movies so we could have explored that relationship a little bit more because I really liked the actor who played Henry's dad as well. So I would have loved to see that evolve. I'm curious now because I haven't seen these movies in a while. So I can't remember what I think of the last one. So I think it'd be fun for us to kind of rank how these break down and what we would rank as our favorite because I thought this was going to be my number 2 and right now it is not my number 2. So looking forward to watching this next one because I do remember bits and pieces of it because we get a restaurant with Henry and his dad. I do
Right.
recall that. So what about you? What was your overall thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm there with you. I gave this one my 4.
Hmm.
So it didn't, I've given the first 3 all 5s. And this one I think is my least favorite
Hmm.
of the whole series. Though they're, like you say, I the, the last one has some issues too in it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they both lie that now that we're going through and watching them like this again. The kind of like what you said, I just wasn't the mystery itself wasn't too pulled into it. And it just seemed long and drawn out that so it just I never really got into the mystery element of it. And that's the kind of thing I like about Gourmet Detective is it's the characters and the plot and all of that coupled with a pretty good mystery. And in this one, I had all the first parts that I loved. The mystery just was okay. I loved them showing up in the costumes and no one else being there. It just was a really
Been there, done that myself, so I can relate.
fun thing, fun. It's Bridget Jones. She does it too. So it's just a fun gag that goes. And I love the way Maggie dealt with it of like, oh, would you like a glass of wine? Bring me the whole bottle. Right. Like, there. So it was fun. I liked to like you got a lot of relationship arc in this, right? Where
Yeah.
Maggie's trying to, they're in the beginning part, oh, the 3-month anniversary where yeah, adults don't celebrate it, but acknowledging it. And she's wanting to do Henry's birthday, and Henry's like, no, no, and just being kind of there. And then she gets very snarky, and Brooke can pull off snarky. Like I was feeling like, because she was cold to him, and I was feeling that little, frigid air blowing through. I felt I was in Minnesota and you're -9 degrees when Maggie gave some of those looks, or like, oh, nope, I'm just going to go do this now. So I thought that was good. And then obviously it arced though, where then got an understanding of what was going on and took it from there. So I had also in there, I really liked Henry's dad getting introduced, which came with not just his dad getting introduced as a character, but a little backstory too. And so that was fun. And you said this before when we were talking on Tuesday about how one of the things you like is when we get the characters and like you get more and more of the side characters. And the daughter, Abigail, whichever, like she was a little, she's not a main character, but it's just giving a little more. So you get the snapshot into Brooke as a mom and the dynamic. And I just thought she was really good. And it's funny because, I've always defended Allie, even when we were talking about I'm going brain dead, the Newport mystery, right? Because I just like her, and it goes back to this. And now I'm seeing why, because she really wasn't in it's just real small ones, whereas this one she had a much bigger role, and so we got to see her a little bit more, and she's getting her little boy crush. So I like that. And the last thing I'll say, I found it hilarious when they were able to say, "Oh, Tesla goes ahead and they're known to work with the police and give up, the driver data," which
I thought that
Elon
was
Musk
hilarious.
that's like so anti Elon Musk. And just so everyone knows, no, they do not do it unless there's a court order. So you cannot just give Elon a call and say, "Hey,
Oh, so
I think my
funny.
husband was cheating on me. Where was his Tesla at 2 in the morning?" And Elon will go, "Hang on, I'll send you over that file right now." Click. No, Tesla is not
Uh,
not doing that. But at the time when this came out, Teslas were like kind of brand new and no one had them. I don't know how it is in Minnesota. In Arizona, every third car is a Tesla. So
I don't know. I should pay attention to that more. I mean, I see some, but I don't know if they're super prevalent.
yeah.
The winters here. I mean, you got the snow and the little salt that gets on the car.
And
So
performance does, because we have an electric car, and it definitely does drop in. I've told you before how bitter cold our winters are here, but it does drop like 30% charge. So
that's
when
funny.
you
Yeah.
start having in fact, it was funny. I read this whole article on, we're going a whole side thing on EVs, but about cars and EVs, and one of the things about them is how they do drop, and regular cars also drop, but people, and the article I was reading in Minnesota have car warmers, like a thing where it like
Yeah.
generates and keeps a heater going on in the car.
Correct.
And the funny thing is, in the books for Hannah, the Murder She Baked books, Hannah talks about it. I'm like, what? I've never heard of such a thing. And apparently,
Yeah, that's a
in
thing. I do
Minnesota,
it
it really
before
is
I
a
bring
thing.
my son to school. I turn my car on, heat it up. Yeah, no, I would agree. The my dad with the electric car, because he looked into this because they live out in the middle of nowhere, and he was like, "Well, what happens if the car dies? Like, I can't risk that." Because I think they were pushing. Someone was trying to get him to do a minivan, and he was like, "It's just where we live. It's just too remote. Like, that's just not a smart investment." And so that is probably something else that will be coming in the future. That I guess the Tesla conversation made us go in that direction from our gourmet.
Yes.
So coming
Enough
back
EV
on
talk.
track.
Let's get into a mystery minute. What do you say?
I literally have one sentence. I couldn't remember the killer. I did forget the entire barn scene. That was my mystery minute notes. Again, like you said, I don't know. I don't know if I cared about this mystery enough either. There's a lot going on. So the siblings, actually, to connect it into a Dateline I just watched today too, with four siblings, and then you're trying to figure out, was it a sibling? Was it the spouse? Who did it? I mean, that can be problematic. And so I guess that is my recommendation for Hallmark and Chill. It's the latest Dateline episode. If you want
Oh,
a mystery that connects into the Gourmet Detective, that's my mystery minute today. What do you got for us, Eric?
so like I said before, the mystery was why it fell short of the five for me. It just it wasn't great. I didn't love the way that the mystery sort of rolled on the end. It just what it was. Like I said, I liked the investigation. To your point, the siblings was kind of interesting. But once again, what do we get? We got a woman who was kind of guilty, and then the guy was the
Yeah,
real evil
yeah.
one, right? So it kind of getting a little three times in a row. It's like that's a trend. Um,
And these
I did
aired
think
years apart now
I did find the barn
compared to
scene
the other one.
a little silly, getting Maggie getting like totally knocked out by the bale of hay, kind of going.
I mean, hey,
It
I
reminded
have
me of
thrown bales of hay.
the mistletoe murder, the first one with
The
You
barn
know,
scene that
there,
also,
yeah, the
yes.
barn scenes are tough.
I
Um,
love me a good barn scene. So
so
I enjoyed
hay,
it. Could you get knocked out with that small of a hay bale?
oh,
If you hit
yeah,
your head on something, I guess.
like
But no, because I've thrown those hay bales around. No. I no. I'm literally throwing the hay bale to someone to catch, to load onto something. So no.
the, but I did like the very end. Before I told you when we talked about the pan, that was such a great scene. Going back to episodes, but this one too, where she's like, "Go ahead and shoot Henry," and Henry's like, "Wait, what?" And so
Yeah.
then the guy actually does click, and he's like, "Oh, I knew the first chamber's there," and so she shoots him in the arm, kind of thing. And then Henry's like, "You let him shoot me." That was pretty funny. So that aspect of the mystery was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, kind of slides into our romance roundup. I do like the ending of the movie. I like that ending scene. I think it really set the table for them as a couple, and and as you just talked about with that scene of you let them shoot me, and then just scrolling into that table and just like seeing them connected outside of like a investigation. I found those to be really, I guess, again, developing this relationship that sometimes they don't always take the time to do in a mystery, but just even throwing that scene in there, I think it goes a long way to build up these characters together. And so we can believe them. And so we can see them together solving crimes, but also outside just hanging out and living life.
I- right there with you. They just have so much natural chemistry together where, like you say, that scene, it does seem like they really are a couple. It
Yeah.
just,
He rubbed her
they're
arm. Like my son said, ew, because he watched a little bit of, he's like, oh, is this the frying pan couple? And I said, yes. And so he watched a little bit and he got to that scene and he was grossed out, which, hey, if you're grossing out an 8-year-old, it means you're probably doing something right.
exactly, exactly. The other thing I will say is, it would have been great. They sort of alluded to it, and Dylan did explain why we don't really, I think, get to see more of it. But the Monroe Lucy romance, they hinted at it, like, "Oh, it was really great seeing you. Anytime you want to come by, that like it would have been fun seeing that be able to develop in something because like we said, we love the side characters, and we think that's what makes episodes. Dylan wanted to do it, it just couldn't happen for whatever variety of reasons. So it would have been fun to see a little romance corner for those two, but
Well, our character corner, I'm going to come back to Chris McNally and his character, Douglas. That was, again, the first time I actually recognized it as Chris. Very clean, young, shaven actor. Really, it doesn't even necessarily even sound like the same, like his voice, because I was trying to listen to that. And I'm like, I guess I can hear it in pieces. But I feel like he's really evolved as an actor from this role. I'm assuming this has to be some of his early work. You think that's no?
I did not know Chris McNally has evolved as an actor.
Okay, well, you don't like Chris
I
McNally, so that's
fantastic in tip
not your
line.
favorite. He's
Fantastic
not your
in tip
favorite.
line.
Okay.
Other than that, I would not put him in the
No, he's not
category
your
of great
favorite.
actors.
I don't mind him. I don't mind him at all. So I enjoyed seeing him and I do think there's an evolution if you're looking at this movie compared to what he's done as of late. I think there's a big growth.
It's probably the role that Ezra should have had, some role like this substance, right?
We'll probably see him again. Well, who's your character?
Mine was Beth, and that was played by Lucie Guest. She was the one who was having the affair kind of
Oh,
thing that,
okay.
got in the fight
See,
outside.
again, this is where there were so many that you're like, which
And
one?
it was a small role, right? But the
Yeah.
reason why she's my character corner is we just interviewed her on the podcast because she is directing all she's one of the main rom-com directors now. She did the Santa Claus, Jingle Bell Run, and Under the Christmas Lights. So,
Oh, see, there we
and
go, connecting
she was
all
in
of the dots.
Holidays. She was, the vegan sister who snuck in the closet to
I
eat
like it.
the sausage or whatever. But so it was just a little fun thing because we just talked to her and whatever. She had a little role, but she was an alibi, so what the heck.
Well, Hallmark trivia time. I do have some trivia. My first one is Henry incorrectly refers to his stockings as splatter dashes. And spatter dashes are ankle wrappings that cover the foreleg and run from the shin to the ankle.
You got it wrong.
It's not splatter, it should be spatter, no L. And then the other one is guest stars Gary Chalk and Toby Levins, who portrayed stepfather David and stepson Ken, also appear in Murder She Baked movies as the mayor and the deputy who Andrea is married to. So in case you kind of see the like, oh, I recognize him, that would be why. He was the mayor, and then the other one was the one married to Andrea.
I was going to do the mayor too because I was
Yeah.
like, I remember him from something.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, he was but he was like way back, right? He
Murder She
hasn't been
Baked.
in any of the Hannah ones, right? Wasn't he Murder She Baked?
Mostly Murder She Baked. I would have to look to see if he's been in one of the Hannahs.
Okay.
What do you got for us?
Well, let's just go through and I'm going to have to get to my, uh, where is the,
Eric is trying to find his DMs from Dylan right now.
yeah.
That would be my guess to
Yes.
hear what accident.
Well,
that Dylan
I'm in
had.
there, but oh, here we go. The, oh, this episode, nothing too exciting. He cut his finger with a knife. I'm
All
guessing it
about
had to be the
that.
scene when he was
Chopping
making
scene.
breakfast and
Chopping scene, yes.
Yeah.
When I commented on a couple movies ago how good he was, so apparently.
apparently not. So, yes. The last one next week we get back to a good one. This one he sliced a
Minor.
finger, not quite as good as, having a full out cold all over Brooke when he's in the kissing scene or
And Brooke
you know.
has yet to respond to any of Eric's DMs.
I know. Yeah.
In case you're wondering, nothing from Brooke. Brooke probably has a restraining order out against Eric and he doesn't know it yet.
No, she's just too busy with her
Game show.
game show. Yeah.
Well, Hallmark and Chill, I have for us Murder, She Wrote, Season 11, Episode 3, To Kill a Legend. Jessica discovers a letter from George Washington that leads to a hero's disgrace and a director's murder. So there's a little costume play in this, probably similar-ish to the start of this episode. They have reenactment that they were trying to film for this movie when a director gets killed. I enjoy this episode, especially in the later seasons. They're a little bit harder to come by with ones that you're like, oh yeah, this one's a really good one. So I would recommend this if you want to see a later episode in Murder, She Wrote. So season 11. What do you got?
I'm going to Goldie and Detective Schultz and Curious Cater foiled plans because you get them dressing up. They go into the castle, not a mansion, but they're going to the castle in the, Goldie's supposed to cook a similar type period meal and all of that. So you get some of the fun costumes. And the difference though is you get it throughout the entire, movie. They're in the costumes, which I think is a lot of fun. So there you go. It's you get all that. I guess you could go Gilded Mysteries too. You get a period piece, but we're not going to recommend that one.
No, but there's also a Hannah. It's a Hannah or a Murder She Baked. I'm trying to figure out which episode or which movie it was that they dressed up because Barbara Niven's book release, and then they dressed up in a period piece. Do you recall which one that was?
Oh,
I would also recommend.
I think that was Hannah.
Was that Hannah?
I think that was Hannah.
Too.
I think it was like a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, so that one would be one that I would recommend as well if you want a little period piece fun. So next week we are completing our Gourmet Detective Rue the Day, which this one aired in 2021, and so quite a few years. I think previously it aired in 2017, and so there was a big gap between 2017 and then this one. I guess it aired 2020, so a 3-year gap. That's pretty large for a mystery to have that big of a gap and for them to come back. I remember I was super excited thinking, yes, we're going to get more. And then they gave us one and done. Yeah. So, which is a bummer. But it also airs on February 2nd at 7 p.m. So if you're looking at this, I do see that they all are airing. All 5 of the Gourmet Detective mysteries are airing in early February. Actually, on February 2nd, they must be doing a marathon. So look at that. Spend your day. If you don't have Hallmark Plus, that would be your chance to kind of catch all of those.
And that's what I used to do. I used to always look forward to when they'd have the marathons, and I would get my little binge on.
Yes.
And before, had the app and was able to watch them.
Yes.
Oh,
So
man.
enjoy. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Eric.
It has. Until next time, when we have to go back to the pond.
Bye.
Bye, Andrea.
Bye.